All right, what is everybody? We're going to be recording bag number 15 of the Artemis launch system. Now, if you take a look, this is kind of where we're at to this point. Definitely making some progress. I think we are adding to the top here. So I'm going to have to like pan the camera for you guys to be able to see it once we start getting taller. But there we go, picking it up. Stay away from hitting these things, but picking it up, it actually is pretty damn sturdy. I'm kind of impressed with that part. So, but all right, so here we go. Bag 15, not super big. A lot of the bags have not been that way. It has been a minute since I've recorded anything, so I took a few days to kind of chill out from it. You know, we had stuff we needed to do, you know, as a family in the house and all that good stuff, and you kind of get wrapped up into that and kind of neglected the being up here thing for a bit. So I got my old bland specs so I can read the fine print, and away we go. All right, take a look. All right. All right, times 2 coming up here. I'm going to do it at one time. Obviously, we're putting another round of supports on the top of this to kind of match what we've been doing, like there, a bigger version down here. All right, times 3 on this one, so makes it interesting. I would say it's safe to say that, at least locally here, the holiday season is pretty much in full swing. A little earlier than I remember usually, but that definitely appears to be the case. Every store we go into, it's been kind of interesting. I've been watching, I've had in my For You page quite a few reactionary videos to Donald Trump winning presidential election. Now, I kind of chuckle at that because I do believe that everybody thought that if he was elected, the world was going to explode. The sun was not going to come up. All that good stuff. The sun was going to, not come up because it withered away and died. And the amazing part is, none of that happened. The day after, the election, everything was still standing. The sun was still there. There wasn't a mass exodus of people. But watching the reactions of people has been, dare I say, entertaining. One gal, I don't understand it, but she's crying into the camera and she's saying something to the effect of, I am going to wake up tomorrow and be a slave. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what kind of craziness Now, I talked about this yesterday with Stacy and Emily. So, I'll say this just for the purposes of this. You guys probably already know this if you watched any of my videos. I am a Republican. I am a registered Republican. Now, when the insurrection of the Capitol happened January 6, 2020, it was 2020, right? I think so. I think that's the right year. And it was by far, Trump supporters, that kind of thing, storming the Capitol and doing what they did. I'm a patriotic American first and foremost. What went on there was not an act of patriotism. That was an act of madness. I think a lot of mainstream conservatives would agree with that. But the result of that, whether it was appropriate or not, was that Republicans were nuts. They were radical, violent. That was the narrative that went out. And frankly, based on what you saw at the Capitol, you couldn't argue against it. Oh, it's not everybody. Well, it didn't really matter because the mainstream already took it to a certain level. And so, I felt a lot of shame seeing that is, my party, and that behavior occurred. I felt shame. And it was shame all the way into, everything kind of got nuts over the last couple of years with, political, issues, transgender issues, and like all this stuff has just gone nuts, right? Under a Democrat, shall I say, Democrat Party controlling the White House and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so coming into this election cycle, you kind of refelt, you didn't feel strong, at least I didn't, strong in how we looked to the world because of a certain rhetoric and a certain, you're just like, okay, I don't know. Anyway, and then all of a sudden the pendulum swung and things changed, and changed almost without notice, where now you're seeing all these reactionary videos of people, not happy that Trump won the presidency, and the crazy reactions and what people thought it meant to see a Donald Trump in office again. And all of a sudden they became the crazies, the radicals, all that kind of stuff that Republicans were in 2020. The insurrection was the memo that said, you guys are this. We didn't have a memo for the shift to today. What is going to be fascinating is seeing if he's really going to be able to do the things like with social media and stuff like that. If he's going to be able to do that stuff that he's talked about. All indications is that he will be able to, because, the Republicans are going to control the House on top of the Senate and the White House come Inauguration Day. So what is it, 2024? So technically it's 2025 when he assumes office. So the insurrection must have been in 2020, just after it turned 2021, I'm guessing. Anyway, but if you're a social media company, to say I support Donald Trump or to say I'm a Republican will no longer be allowed by law as hate speech. We will have less censorship on social medias because of his, soon to be freedom of speech amendments that he's going to make. I think the only thing that he has mentioned that I don't necessarily agree is going to go over well is amending the Constitution to provide senators and congressmen term limits. That's going to be a tough one. And the reason that's going to be tough is you're effing with a lot of money. And I don't necessarily see that being... That's something that some people are really going to fight. Like, really, really fight. All right, so we do this. Yeah, that's correct. So that's what the... kind of show you here. And I have to move this up some so you can see the top of it. All right. So this is the one we just put on, this one here. Anyway, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what happens. The one I was most offended about, I usually don't get bothered by, the ridiculous stuff. It doesn't faze me much because, I live in reality, not fantasy world. So when somebody spews some sort of rhetoric that is just absolutely ridiculous, it just kind of bounces off of me. But the one that really pissed me off, and you keep hearing it, is, you voted for Donald Trump because you can't afford your groceries. Well, yeah, it's true. Inflation has been outrageous. But it's like you're degrading me because I might have voted for him, and you think it's because I can't afford my rent, groceries. I could afford all that. But to put me down or put someone else down because of their financial position is absolutely appalling. Absolutely disgusting. And I don't care what walk of life you are. If you would have done that in a room where you were physically there, whew, man, we'd be going at it. So yeah, so that was the one like ridiculousness that that I just did not like at all, was that there are people that are in far worse positions than I financially, and how dare you disparage that. That's just awful. So when you open these bags and you end up going at it, the piece count kind of looks the appearance of larger than usual, but once you get through like 5 steps, it thins itself out pretty quick. So I'm trying to keep the same angle the same way, just so it'll make more sense to me. But so I think it's this way. Looks like, yeah. All right. So yeah, so it's super fascinating how even as quickly as an election cycle can change the temperature of the majority in the country. Because think about it, an election cycle is not that long a period of time in the grand scheme of everything. But you would think, like, how does that work? Like, how does that, because there's been a significant shift. You know, and I saw I saw that video, the new, who's going to end up being the new border czar for President Trump, being interviewed. And he was pressed pretty hard on the deportation stuff. That's way out of my pay grade. I can't sit there and answer any questions that somebody might ask about the intricacies of migration, immigration, you know, all that kind of, like, it's way above my pay grade. But he did say something interesting that I did recognize, and that was because the question was pressed about splitting up families. And he literally was like, "What are you talking about?" So it caught my attention. And he said, in this country, did I do that correct? Or did I not do that correct? Oh, I need to do that opposite. In this country, when... Oh, no, I did do that right. Okay. Let's say, you know, you're an American citizen, you're driving down the road, this is an analogy that he used, and you're pulled over for DUI. And you're found to be drunk, which is a crime. Being in this country illegally is a crime, right? But in this instance, you're an American citizen, you broke a law, you have your child with you in the car, you're separated from your child because they arrest you. They don't take the child with you to jail. You know, so anybody that breaks the law in this country, if they have their family with them, they're separated from their family automatically. And the gal interviewing didn't have an argument against that. You could tell the wokeness in her was having a hard time getting around all that. And it was funny to me. I started laughing a little bit. It was like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And that's true. That is absolutely true. So All right, so we're doing another round on top. And I know there's probably people that, you know, are going to see this video and be upset at me for talking about it, but I'm a believer in discussing things that help make things a little more palatable to understand. And I'm one that when something doesn't jive in my brain, I can't ever let it go without discussing it some. I think this whole election process has been not a fun one. You know, the amount of hostility and shit out there by everybody is incredibly alarming. But, you know, it's not to say I'm not happy about the outcome. I am. But it's not one that I would choose to do an end zone dance about. Try to put it in the terms of football that maybe somebody might understand. I'm not celebrating. I'm going to congratulate privately, and then we're going to move on from it because, you know, I don't think there's a need to do a victory lap. There's a need to be gracious in your victory. And that's how kind of I feel about it. So, you know, people worked really hard on both sides. Obviously, you know, the winning side, you could celebrate however you see fit. You know, who am I to dictate how you would celebrate such victories? But me personally, you know, I didn't immediately go out and buy a Trump flag and, you know, do the whole thing because I didn't see a need to. The victory was enough. And even though the stuff on social media about the reactions has been funny, been entertaining to watch, but it's not lost on me that that's a real person hurting over what has happened. And even though I don't agree with their politics or even the way they go about their politics, you know, they're still American. And at the end of the day, when it comes to our country, we're all the same. We all have to be treated the same. We all are the same, you know, because we're not a mass amount of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Tea Partiers, whatever else you're trying to classify yourself as. At the end of the day, I mean, we're Americans, you know, all of us. Even the assholes I cannot stand. In that realm, they're the same as I am. And the rest of us are. So, all right, so this goes on the front side. So, all right. So Lego at the end of November is releasing, what was the ship's name? It's a sailing ship from like the 1800s. It's such a cool set. So that's the set I am going to be chasing next. Once we're done with this build though, it did arrive. I'm excited to do this one because I've wanted it since it released, but I'll be building that after the Artemis. I'm toning down the Star Wars purchases. And I kind of do that this time of year to make it easier for Stacy to buy for Christmas. I've always been the one, like, well, in my adult life anyway, you know, if you have the money and I see something I like, I just get it. But I have to kind of tone that down around the holiday time to make it easier for Stacy. I'm an easy buy for. Stacy's a hard one to shop for. Emily's hard too, but Emily's not shy about letting you know what she wants, so she just has expensive tastes. Stacy, and we sometimes argue about this, she claims she's not materialistic. I hold out that she's less materialistic than most of us, but she's still a little in certain things that she likes. And I'm sure if she heard that right now, she would argue that point. But if you look at her Disney collection, because she's got a absolutely phenomenal Disney collection downstairs. All right, we're on the last step. So I'm sorry this video did drag out a little bit more than normal, just some stuff that I've been thinking about. You guys always make me feel better after, you know, like if something's on my mind to talk about and all that. So I appreciate you letting me rant and rave about it. All right. So, yeah. Well, hold on. Yeah, that's correct. All right. All right, look at that. This is tall. It is getting up there. I'll move the camera just a little bit so you can see it. There you go. It's a tall one. But that is bag number 15. All right, guys, thank you much.